right, Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. I'm just going to run through some announcements. For 8th Annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference. That'll take place, actually, it's coming up on us real quick, October 30th to November 2nd, right here in Hollywood, Florida. You can sign up and register for the event now. You can attend live and in person, or you can get all the classes and the workshops and attend virtually via Zoom. The event kicks off for those here live and in person on the 30th, Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do our annual meet and greet. Everybody meets each other. Everybody meet and talks with each other, gets all that out of the way because we get to work right out of the gate on Friday morning. So I do the meet and greet the evening before so everybody can introduce themselves to each other, things of that nature. So there is no wasting time on the Friday and the Saturday morning, which, believe it or not, the time and the slots go so quick. It's crazy how the time flies by. All right, so that'll kick off the meet and greet, the opening ritual on Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Friday and Saturday we will have classes and workshops from 9 to 4 p.m. on both days. The itinerary, schedule-wise, time-wise, it's the same. A little bit of a difference. So on Friday and Saturday, 9 to 4 p.m. classes and workshops, and then we come back in the evening time around 7:30, 8 p.m. and we do a group ritual together, and then followed both nights after the ritual. We just kind of go eat, kick it, talk, hang out for a little bit, and then we close out the conference on Sunday, the 2nd, from noon to 4 p.m. with a question and answer session with yours truly. All right. You can sign up and register for that event right now. Shoot me an email at khnum19@gmail.com. That's khnum19@gmail.com, and I'll send you that info. If you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, I offer various different types of readings: telepathic, demonic readings, shadow work readings, which is always a great reading to do if you're looking to see what's going on currently right now around you, what you need to be focusing on, pointing you in the right direction for ritual work, which is critical. As you know, I'm a big advocate. I teach people your ritual work should be designed first and foremost for your needs as opposed to your wants. The wants come when you address the needs. Trust me when I tell you that. Maybe you're interested in a deity reading to see what gods, goddess, demons, and spirits walk with you. Maybe you're just interested in a consultation because you got a lot of questions about the occult and the left-hand path, or you want to focus on an area of interest. Shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. Please include in that email your full availability on a weekly basis, and also please include the time zone that you are in, and we will find a day and time that works for both of us, all right? Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. That's the way you get in on my classes. I got a ton of classes going on. If you want to see what those classes are, and I encourage you to look at Tier 3. That gives you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon for Patreon members only, including the group ritual we do at the end of the month. Go to the Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3 gives you access to everything I just described. You could also, when you go to the page, click the collection section, and you will see all of the current ongoing classes with new content being added on a regular basis. That's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, Tier 3. Also, check out the newest episode of the Hip Hop Occult Show, episode 5, which we did this past Friday night. Check that show out, a great show that Taja put together. We had producer extraordinaire Dis One there in the building. We had a new and upcoming artist, Montu Mercury, on. If anybody has good quality hip-hop, or music, it don't have to be hip-hop. I'm not doing any booty music, trap music, none of that cornball shit, mumble crap. No offense, it's not the platform for it. We're looking for more so cultural, conscious, occult, left-hand path. And you don't have to be talking about the left-hand path in your music, as long as it's just not, the best way I can say, dripping with whack juice. I don't know how any other way to put it, but it's got to meet the criteria of what the show is for, right? So I'm not going to be showcasing a trap artist that's singing about, smacking hoes on the ass and popping crystal and, and all that bullshit. But anyway, if you're interested in showcasing your music on the Hip Hop Occult Show, contact me and send me your stuff, and we could possibly bring you on as a guest on the next episode of the Hip Hop Occult Show. It's a fun show. All right, so we got that going on. Also, don't forget to check out the social media platforms: Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 2 words on Facebook, primordialchaos.com 3 on TikTok. Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, available on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. Also, don't forget to hit the like button. Hit the like button to the video when you watch it. Get the video out there. Get the algorithms pumping. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Make sure you check all notifications so you get a video when I go live. All the links to the podcast, the social media pages, my contact email address, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All those links are in the description box of this video. All right, so this won't be too long of a video. It should be about a regular amount of time. Got an email. I've spoken of this on and off over the years about ancestral work, the ancestors, as far as from an occult left-hand path perspective. Do we deal with that? And quote unquote, how does it work? And then this person also asked in the email a topic I address, and I'll address it straight to the point again. Ancestor money, which I find that shit comical. I'll get into that in a second. So I want to say this. First of all, in traditional systems, whether it's African traditional spiritual systems or traditional systems, could be from any culture, any origin, we don't, nor do I, advocate or teach ever ancestral worship. You won't even hear me say those words. And here's the reason why. It's a stupid concept, number one. Number two, when you're in a state of foolishness and religion and faith and belief, you can't worship yourself. That's why I say that. So be careful of using that word, ancestral worship, right? We don't worship anything outside of ourselves. We don't worship or bow down or grovel to anything, but especially to worship your ancestors is foolishness, because the same blood that runs through their veins runs through your veins. So I use the word veneration, which is different when you look up the definition. To venerate, to honor your ancestors, is the practice that we use on the occult and the left-hand path. Now, across the board, you're going to get a difference of opinion of people who was on the occult or the left-hand path. In some traditional systems, it's almost a foundational or mandatory practice. Now, you're going to run into occultists, left-hand practitioners. You will get some that don't even utilize it at all, and that's their perspective. But if you're asking me and you send me an email, you've addressed a question before in a class in the past, I feel it's very highly necessary. I feel it is an important element. Now, even if somebody practices vampire magic, there's high levels of venerating the ancestors or the dead in a lot of the systems we practice. Obviously, especially necromancy and vampiric magic, right? So you are using elements of it in some shape, form, or fashion, period. There's no getting around that. But of setting up a full-blown necromancy / ancestral altar to venerate your ancestors, you're going to find that's going to vary from depending on who you're talking to, okay? I recommend people do it. I think connecting with your bloodline ancestors creates more power. It's another vehicle. It's another avenue you can use to communicate. And how we venerate and work with our ancestors on the occult or left-hand path, it's just like we would work with certain spirits, gods or goddesses or demons in ritual work. I do a weekly veneration of my ancestors, and then I do a bigger veneration each equinox 4 times a year. But I'm going to explain some of the differences as far as from a more occult left-hand path perspective as opposed to a traditional perspective. First and foremost, you don't pour libations out for all your ancestors. I've explained this a bunch of times over the years. Some of your ancestors were alcoholics, drug addicts, rapists, murderers, and killers. The last thing you want to do is create a conduit or an energy grid and welcome them to your ancestral altar or welcome them into your ancestral communion or your ritual work. You have to be careful because they will find their way in if you do not do your proper due diligence when you're venerating your ancestors. So that traditional shit, you don't pull alcoholics out for winos. If you're doing offerings, be very clear on who and what you are offering, because some of them might have had addictions, and you might be creating, again, that spiritual conduit to keep that going, because some have not fully made that transition, whether you're aware of it or not. Some are stuck or disembodied spirits between realms because they're still trying to burn out their lower desires. That gets into a whole nother thing, right? You have to understand how the realm of the spirits work. It's a little more technical. This is not the right class to go into because that would take some time. That's something I could probably address on a live. So there's a threefold process. 2, you should be aware of addressing your ancestors. 1, obviously the ones you do know, the ones you have established relationships and connection with. And as I've said before, these are individuals you can have images, objects, and photos of them on your altar. You should have the basic 4 elements on your altar, as I've mentioned in the past. You know, you should have something representing, obviously, the water element, a clear goblet. And anything you use on that ancestral altar should just be brand new and just for them. Never put objects that you ate out of yourself or other individuals, because it's an energy thing. Everything should always be brand new. When you're doing offerings, should always be on plates that you can use the same ones over and over again, but it's, you know, your objects and your working tools should just be for your ancestors. Don't use bowls and utensils and instruments that you eat out of, because it's a respect and an energy thing, nothing religious. I'm not super big on the offerings and the feedings. I only might do that a few times a year. Obviously, the best offering you can give is fresh water. You could add a little sea salt to it if you want. Simple offerings like just pure black coffee, no sugar, no milk. White rum or Caribbean rum, it just depends. Hard candies are good, dry. I mean, and then personal stuff. If you have an ancestor that was here that liked a certain dish, sometimes an individual will cook that specific dish for that particular ancestor. Okay? It just all depends. And how you're going to work on them is going to vary individual to individual, your connection, how well you know them. And that gets a little bit more personal and detailed, right? But you should have the 4 elements: water, which is represented by that fresh goblet of water that should be on your altar, and it should be changed every 7 days. The air element is always represented by your incense offering. The fire element should always have a solid white candle, 7-day glass candle, just plain white. I like to anoint it with like pure virgin olive oil, or they have like spirit oil you can get, unscented, just clear anointing spirit oil you can get from occult stores or botanicas. And that should be the central flame on your ancestral altar, and that should burn for your ancestors. Now, you might have other spirits and representations on there with other colored candles, that's fine, but that white candle should burn as a whole to venerate and honor your ancestors. And I'm just sharing with you some practices, right? The earth element can be graveyard dirt. It could be the ashes. Like I have my father's ashes on the altar. I have actual sand and dirt from the pyramids in ancient Egypt. It could be just sand from the beach. Something to represent the earth element needs to be on that altar out of the 4 elements. And then obviously we did the fire, we did the water, we did the air, and then the earth. So have those 4 elements. That's the activation of your ancestral altar. And then you are the human conduit, or the 5th element, right? You've heard that term, the 5 element. You are the 5th element that pilots that altar, because the ancestors are working through you as you're doing your ritual work, right? Now, as I said, on your altar, this could be set up simply with, traditionally they'll use a white cloth. I like to lay a solid black cloth on mine, right? Because that represents the all. It represents no parameters. It represents, infinity, existence in its totality. Black is more powerful in working with it from a more necromancy and ancestral veneration purpose. Now, you can use the white if you want. That's a matter of preference. Again, the altar can be decorated again with pictures of ancestors that have transitioned on. Please do not put on that altar pictures of people that are alive. People always then ask, deities, can I put deities on there? Only gateway deities such as Ampu or Anubis, the black aspect of the Holy Death, any of the gay days in voodoo or voodoo, any of the vampiric gods, right? Anything that's connected to necromancy or ancestral work, deities that are, that are in alignment with that, they should be the only ones that could be put on there. Now, if you have certain ancestral spirit guides, like I have a Native American spirit that I've connected with, I have a warrior spirit that goes back to medieval times. You can have representations of those statues or icons that represent certain spirit guides that you work with, okay? They can all be on this altar together, and then you can decorate it with things that are in alignment with that, as long as it's all in sequence. Very important when doing ancestral veneration work, you keep it in line with the ancestors, all right? Now, you can do this in your own way. I always teach people the threefold method of addressing your ancestors. Most people don't do this. They just acknowledge everything as a whole. And again, not all your ancestors are here for your growth and your production. Some of them are wicked, and they're trying to use you as a vessel to work their way back into this realm. This is why sometimes you get walk-in spirits from your ancestors. You start doing shit out of pocket. You might start eating shit that you don't eat. You might start drinking, doing drugs and other shit you don't do. And you say, I never used to do that shit. Why all of a sudden? That's because you might have let one back in, and they're working through you to feed their addictions or things that they're trapped to on this realm. So this is why it's very important to use this threefold address. Okay, one, you acknowledge first and foremost, however you do your personal communion or meditation with your ancestors, just use this threefold process. I don't care what methodology you use, but incorporate this threefold process. First, acknowledge and address the ones you do know about, that are there for your growth, that are positive, that you're 100% certain of. Second, acknowledge all the ones you do not know about or you're not aware of that are there for your growth and develop. And the third one is the most important. Say with conviction, powerful, and say it with some passion. You do not welcome any ancestors to your communion or meditation that are not there for your personal growth and development. They are not allowed to attend this communion, and you can add whatever you want to that. You always have to remember you are in control. If you make that command, they can't come in unless you set that parameter. If you don't address that, you're leaving that window open. Remember, as you sit at your ancestral altar, like you do ritual work, your aura, your halut is giving off a certain aura, and by the color of your aura, this is how walk-ins and spirits know to come, because when they're in energy form, they see what kind of light or energy your aura is giving off. So this is how sometimes a disembodied spirit ancestor, I had an addiction to alcohol. Let me see if I can get into that, because you're the same blood. They can find their way to work in, and then all of a sudden you find yourself becoming a heavy drinker. Or maybe they were a cocaine addict and you find yourself sniffing coke all the time. Or maybe they were a glutton with food and now all of a sudden you're overeating and you never used to do that shit. Or you start craving weird, all these different, that could be a telltale sign of that. So that third part of that address is super important. Just incorporate that in any shape, form, or fashion you see fit, and I will guarantee you that'll be a beneficial thing for you in the long run and as a whole, right? Now, two other things I want to get to real quick, and I know I'm running through this fast. I might even do a live and rehash all this, because there's a lot more I would like to get into with this, because I haven't talked about it in a little bit. The other question always comes up, what if I'm adopted or I don't know hardly anything about my ancestors? Well, you could still use that, at least that second and third approach, and over time your ancestors will start to reveal themselves to you to a degree. You could also do things like do a detailed DNA test, and when you find in your DNA test some of where your blood origin is from, you can connect with those cultures and those geographical regions in your ancestral work. That will help open you up, and that will help ancestors reveal themselves to you through your ritual work. So you may not be able to do that first step process, addressing the known, if you know next to nothing. And then the question always is, well, what if I had a good relationship with my adoptive parents? Can I put them on my altar? Yes. If you had a good relationship when you were adopted and you did have a good connection with your adoptive parents, Or even if you had a long hood, this can be done too. Even if you had a stepmother that transitioned on that was significant to you, or maybe they were your godmother or your godfather, or you had a lifelong child friend. In special cases and situations, depending if that relationship goes beyond the norm, those are selective. Now, traditionalists will tell you, no, you shouldn't do that, but we're not dealing with it from a traditional perspective. All right? So, yes, there's still ways to go about it, even if you do not know a lot about your ancestry or your bloodline. There's ways of still working with it. And through time, through your ritual work, you will open yourself up and they will make themselves aware to you if you're consistent in your practice. All right? So, take those tips. And if you want to go about in doing ancestral veneration work, I highly recommend that. Is it mandatory on the occult, the left-hand path? No. I suggest it. It's been a helpful tool with me for many years. Even when I was in more of the traditional systems, I've never stopped doing ancestral veneration work. I think it's very critical. Now I'm very fortunate because I have a detailed account of my bloodline, my history, my family going back even beyond 4 generations. So if you're in a situation like me, and I'm sure there's many other people in a very similar situation, it's been a very powerful tool for me. It's something I have a daily address every day that's brief with my ancestors, and then I do something at the end of the week. To me, it's very important and beneficial. But again, it's not mandatory. It's very personal, and that decision is up to you. All right. The other thing I want to address that the person asked in the email, what's the whole thing with ancestral money? Do you utilize that, this, that, and the third? And I've talked on this before. Absolutely not. It's the biggest bullshit. It's the biggest fucking scam and nonsense that you could ever come across. And here's the reason why I say that. I know there's people, there's companies, places you can buy so-called ancestral money to burn an offer that has been so-called blessed and charged. Pure bullshit. Now think about this dumb shit for a minute. You're going to take real money to buy fake money to burn that to your ancestors. That is the dumbest concept ever. If you really wanted to be genuine, if you really believed in that practice, then take the real money and burn that shit. Okay? You charge it and you bless it. But it just goes to show you how stupid people are. They will go spend real money, so that person really wants your real money. They would go spend real money to get fake money that so-called has been charged and can be used to some form of fashion to connect with your ancestors. That's pure bullshit. Okay? First of all, ancestral money somehow over the years has crept into African traditional spirituality. When you do the research, it's actually an Asian custom. How it got into African spirituality over the years, and now a lot of people who come in, they think it's an African traditional spiritual practice. It's not. It goes back to a lot of different Asian cultures. It's something they did. But when they did it, they actually used real fucking money. So now somebody found a way to use this as a hustle, to use fake money. I mean, it's fucking genius though when you think about it. You're gonna pay me real money to get fake money, all under the precept that it's been spiritually charged or some bullshit. Look, I mean, if that's your thing, and I know there's gonna be somebody say, "Well, I've done it, it works." Then power to you then. Then this don't apply to you, right? But if you're asking me from a perspective, should I venture out? No, I wouldn't bother with it. That's just me. But if you feel the urge to experiment with it and do it, and you want to try it, that's your decision. Me, I've never done it, nor will I ever. It's just a practice I don't feel is necessary. I think it's completely fucking stupid, personally, in my opinion. Now, even if you're doing it and working, the power still lies within you. But if you think it's because somebody charged some money up for you, again, all I gotta say is you're gonna take real money to buy fake money that's charged up so you can receive blessings from your ancestors. Why not just take the actual real money and burn that and offer that? Why not just do that? Wouldn't that be a more powerful tool? Wouldn't that be something direct from you? Why you need the middleman? I just, like I said, it never equated to me. So the answer to that question, absolutely not. I don't teach that. If somebody asks me my opinion on it, do I recommend it? Absolutely no. But as I said always before, I don't tell people what they should or should not do. That's your choice. If you decide you want to do that and it works, and maybe it works for you, power to you. But it's just not something I teach, not something I advocate, and I don't really recommend or suggest that to anybody. So that's the answer to that question, okay? And that's pretty much it. It's just a basic, quick tutorial. There's a lot more in depth that I can go into with left-hand path, occult practices, with venerating your ancestors. One book I've thrown out there for years, if you want to see a good concept of that, it's the Black Ship book by Malthus, Malphus. It's not available in hard copy anymore, but you can get it on Kindle. You can also get a free copy of it on Scribd app if you have a Scribd app membership. He has a section in there, and he's an occultist, a left-hand path practitioner. I actually know him. He's based out of the Tampa area, a little bit north of Tampa. I actually know him. He was part of the Temple of Set when I was in the Temple of Set a few years back. Long story short, he's no longer a member of the Temple of Set like myself, but we're not here for that. I would recommend that as a good book to look at as a foundational aspect from a more occult perspective, just as a resource to throw that out there. And then see where that takes you. All right. Again, maybe I'll do a live if I can get on this week or sometime next. That would be a good topic. I haven't talked about this in a while. And thank you for the email. So hopefully this helped address your question. I do have a couple more emails. Some show suggestions. Now you guys are actually starting to pile them in. I did get one from Olga. I'll try to get to that one next. Just be patient. I'll try to get to your request. Other than that, hopefully this short tutorial helped you. If you need to reach out to me for a spiritual reading, a consultation, or you need information for the conference, my contact email address, the direct link to the social media pages, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All of those links are in the description box of the video. Remember, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you get all notifications, all right? Other than that, I'm out of here. Infernal blessings. We will talk soon.